Hello book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nat Cat's Bookish Cafe. Today I'm here to do a spring slash farewell seasonal depression recommendation video. If you saw my spring TBR, which I posted a little while ago, you will know that I'm not someone who really is drawn to a specific genre or type of book in the spring, more so than I am at any other time of the year. So I always struggle to make TBRs and recommendation videos for this time of year. However, when I was kind of thinking about what I could possibly post for this, I started to think about the fact that I have been feeling so much joy about the fact that when I get off work, the sun is still outside and the weather has been improving. Today is very gloomy. It is not a good example, but overall, I just feel like my spirits are lifting as I get vitamin D from something other than a pill. That being said, I have 5 books here that just brought me a lot of joy. They made me smile. They made me laugh. I was just super happy when I put down these books, and so I want to go ahead and recommend those to you so you can read them and hopefully kick the last of that seasonal depression out the door. I want to start by recommending a series that I don't own, but I listened to them via audiobook and I had a fun time listening to them, and that is the Mead Mishaps series by Kimberly Lemming. These are 3 companion romance novels set in a fantasy setting. I would consider them slightly cozy and relatively low stakes. They are definitely more focused on the romance than any sort of complex plots or world building. The first one is called That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. The second time is That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf. And the third one is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human. You can tell from the titles alone that these are kind of books that don't take themselves too serious and that there's going to be a good amount of humor throughout these. What I really enjoyed about these books is just how easy they are to consume if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by life, which I often am. These are a great escape from that. I think that they're really easy to fall into. The characters really grab your attention. They are quick and easy stories. I think each audiobook is maybe around 10 hours, and I do listen to my audiobooks on 2x speed, so I was able to get through these relatively quickly. I also thought that the romance aspects were a lot of fun. There is smut in this book, so if that is something you're looking for, it is definitely present. And overall, I really enjoyed all of the female characters a lot. They were funny, they were sassy, they were determined, they were strong and demanding, and I really enjoyed their banter with their partners throughout this story. I think personally I enjoyed the third book the best, but I would go ahead and recommend any of these for a good time. The next book on this list is going to be The Lightning Struck Heart by TJ Klune. This is one of his, I believe, self-published books, or at the very least by an indie publisher. This was written before he became big due to The House on the Cerulean Sea, by the Cerulean Sea. I always forget the title of that book. But that being said, this is the first book in his Tales of Verenia series. I believe there is 4 books. Yes, 4 books in this core series. Then there's a collection of short stories as well as a companion novel, which I haven't read, but I'm hoping to read it someday. This is one of the funniest books that I have ever read. I will say that his humor can be a little inappropriate in its sexual references, so it definitely is a type of humor that not everyone enjoys. I am rather particular about my humor, but this really worked for me. We are following a young man who is the apprentice to the wizard of a kingdom, and he happens to be in love with the knight, who is unfortunately engaged to the prince. However, at the start of this book, the prince ends up getting kidnapped by a dragon, and he and this knight set off to save the prince. And as they go along their journey, it becomes clear that the knight might have stronger feelings for our wizard than the wizard initially suspected. Our knight and wizard are joined by our wizard's two best friends, Gary the hornless gay unicorn and a half giant. There is a ton of shenanigans in this story. They come across monologuing wizards, they come across bards who make up annoying songs, they come across horny dragons, they come across everything in this story, and along the way Gary is just there trying to make it known to everyone, to make it known to our wizard that the knight likes him, because apparently the wizard just like can't get that through his skull, and so his friend is like, I'm begging you. And I just had so much fun with these characters. I laugh so often. There is a scene featuring like truth corn that makes everyone tell the truth that I will every once in a while, if I'm feeling a little down, actually go back and read, because it was like utter perfection. You can really tell that these books are a little bit different than the TJ Klune books that he writes nowadays, where he kind of just writes whatever the hell he wants to write, and it just makes for such an interesting journey. You will not want to put this book down, because you'll just want to see what these characters say next, what they do next, because it is just so ridiculous. So I 10 out of 10 recommend this book. I reread it, was it last year? And I could definitely foresee myself rereading this book again time and again, because it just brings me so much joy. Up next, we have the one book that is for non-adults. All the other books on this list do have some explicit content in them, but this one anyone can read, and that is A Snake Falls to Earth by Darcy Littlebad. This is a middle grade story, I'm 90% sure, and we are following a cast of characters. Some of them are from the spirit realm and are part human, part animal, as in they can shift fully into an animal, and some of them are human from our realm, and we watch these characters come together to complete a very important task. One of the characters we are following is Ollie, and he is a cottonmouth snake, and he is friends with this little frog-like creature. I don't know what specific type of frog, but one day his friend becomes very ill, and when he goes to the coyote healers to see what is going on, they tell him it has to do with the fact that the frogs he represents in the human realm are facing extinction. So Ollie, the coyote twins, as well as a hawk friend of his, head to the human realm to see if they can do something to help this frog population. And there they meet a young girl who decides to help them with their task, and they in return will help her with her grandmother. It was some sort of family member who was facing illness every time she left her land, and unfortunately her land was in the path of a tornado, and they needed to remove her, at least temporarily, so that she survived the storm. This story was so heartwarming. It is probably to this day one of the most adorable stories that I have ever read. I absolutely adored all of the characters in this story, especially Ollie. He is my absolute favorite. He has my heart completely. He was such a sweetheart. He was such a good friend. He cared so much about the people around him, such a hard worker. All of them were. The teamwork was incredible, and their willingness to put themselves in danger to protect those they cared about was really admirable. So overall, I really thought that this was just a wonderful story for people of any age. It deals with some difficult topics such as environmental impact on animals, facing illness in those who you really care about, and also facing obstacles that are preventing you from achieving your goals. So 10 out of 10 would recommend this audiobook. I know a lot of people really like Lots Away by Darcy Little Badger. I hear less people talking about this one, and I personally enjoyed this story a bit more. The second to last book is going to be Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. Pretty much you could probably read any Talia Hibbert book. I haven't read all of hers yet, but all the ones that I've read, I had a really great time with and really enjoyed the characters. This one is personally my favorite. It is the third and final book in the Brown Sister trilogy, but I'm pretty sure you can read them out of order. In this book, we are obviously following Eve, and I believe she is the youngest sister, and you can say she's the one whose life is the least put together. She has kind of been jumping from job to job and just not sticking with any particular hobby or passion, and her parents, who are rather wealthy, which has allowed her to do this, are putting their foot down and saying, we are cutting you off until you find a permanent job and are able to prove that you are an adult who is responsible. And Eve, as she storms off angry, ends up coming across a bed and breakfast that is hiring a cook and ends up applying and receives the position because she accidentally runs the owner over with her car. Well, not runs him over, but like hits him, and he sustains an injury, and so he needs help right away, and so he hires the person that is right there, which is Eve. And this is a romance, obviously, between the two of them. Both of them are on the autism spectrum. While Eve is very bubbly, very social, she's loud and bold, Jacob is very stoic, very serious, very particular. So this is definitely an opposites attracts kind of situation, but at the end of the day, these two are definitely perfect for each other. It is very clear that Jacob really adores Eve for who she is, which is really important considering the fact that sometimes people just think she's too much, and for her to find someone who accepts her the way that she is, and of course Jacob to find someone who accepts him the way he is in turn, was really wonderful to watch. Talia Hibbert, I feel, always does a wonderful job of balancing humor in her books with more serious emotional conversations, and of course with some good smutty scenes thrown in there as well. So if you haven't gotten to this one yet, or if you haven't tried Talia Hibbert in general yet, I definitely suggest you do so because she is a go-to author for me. And the final book on this list is one of my favorite romances of all time, and I think within the fantasy romance genre it is definitely a popular choice, and that is Radiance by Grace Draven. This book is a little bit different from a lot of fantasy romances because a lot of fantasy romances go the enemies to lovers route, and this one is more of a friends to lovers situation. In this book, we are following Ildiko and Brishan, and Brishan is the man here. He is a part of a species known as the Kai, and Ildiko is a human. These two are kind of the expendable royals. He is the second son to the king and queen. However, his brother and his bride have produced so many heirs that Brishan will never see the throne, and Ildiko, on the other hand, is the niece of the human king. Their kingdoms are neighbors, and a third kingdom is threatening to attack the human kingdom to access their ports. And so the Kai and the human kingdom have decided to make an alliance to prevent war with a third country, and they are setting that in stone through a marriage. The two of them from the very beginning think the other repulsive, like visually, they think they're really ugly. However, as they talk, they start to realize that they really enjoy the other person's company. And so when it comes time to get married, they are more than happy to do so. As they travel to the Kai Kingdom, we watch as Ildiko tries to navigate the politics there, as well as find her place among a group of people that want to puke their guts out every time she rolls her eyes, because it looks like there are living parasites in her skull. Over time, we get to see the two of them really grow closer and closer together. The entire time, they are really supportive of each other. They really lift the other person up. And while they both understand that their partner is very strong and competent, they are also right there behind them to protect them and stand up for them. I really enjoy a friends to lovers situation, to be honest. I mean, I know a lot of people say enemies to lovers is their favorite, and it is great to read, but a good friends to lovers situation is such a feel-good experience for me. And I think that Grace Draven did a wonderful job with these two characters. I think that the pacing of the relationship was some of the best that I have ever read. I also enjoyed the politics that she introduced in this book and then expanded on in the second book as well. That was really interesting to read about. And this book also has some pretty good smut in it as well. So if you're looking for a fantasy romance to get into this spring, but you want it to be a little bit lighter, maybe has some humor in it, and the relationship is a little bit softer, then I definitely would recommend checking out this story. All right, guys, those are the 5 books I recommend you checking out this spring season. I would love to know what you are planning to read in the spring, or what books you recommend we try out this season. As always, thank you so much for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!